a Brannon House television network.
The Tamara Scott Show. Tamara has served as the state director for one of America's largest pro-life, pro-family public policy organizations. In 2007, Tamara was named one of America's top 10 most influential kingmakers by the Religion News Association. Tamara has spent years proclaiming and defending the values of a Christian worldview that is the foundation of our constitutional republic. And now, here is your host, Tamara Scott.
Hey everybody, welcome. I am Tamara Scott. This is the Tamara Scott Show, where we help you live God's Word in today's world when the headlines hit home. We try not to get caught up in them. We're not fearful. We're not going to be fretful, because you learned, if nothing else, during 2020, if those people, whoever you think they may be, can make you be unsteady, can make you be uncertain, fearful, then you become vulnerable, you become malleable. You need to stay on track. Trust your Lord and Savior, the God who created you, who numbered your days before you were formed in the womb. If he has a plan in place, he has a plan in place for you. And if he does, he provides for you and directs you. So we just try to help you be aware of everything so you can pray, strategize, and make best decisions for your family to stay on track with what the Lord would have you do. All right, we've got a lot happening in our media. We're going to head right to it because our guest is, I'm just so thrilled to have him, Robert Spencer, a name that many of you are very well aware of. Robert Spencer, director of Jihad Watch, jihadwatch.org. He also writes for a variety of publications, Front Page Magazine being one. You can find his articles. In fact, I'm finding articles and articles. He's written like 3 in the last 3 days. He's a writing machine. But he's also a Shillman Fellow at the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and he's authored, when I say writing machine, 32 books. 32 books, including many bestsellers, such as The Politically Incorrect Guide to Islam and the Crusaders, which I think we all need to go back and read again, by the way. The Truth About Muhammad, The History of Jihad, A Critical Quran and Muhammad, a critical biography. His new books are The Intifada on the Hudson, The Selling of Zoran Mandami, which sounds very interesting to those of you in the New York area. Probably the rest of us should read it as well. Holy Hell, Islam's Abuse of Women and the Infidels Who Enable It. And The Tragedy of Islam, Failure and Excuses. That was April 2026. That one's coming still, I think. April 2026. While he's writing these books, he's writing articles, from what I can tell, several a day. Robert, thank you for joining me today.
Tamara, it's good to see you again. Thank you.
Always appreciate you coming on with us. Always appreciate the information you put out for all of us to know better how to handle and be aware of what's happening right here in our own country, by the way.
Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate you highlighting it because very few people have the courage even to talk about it.
Well, you know, Concerned Women for America was talking about Sharia law in America, gosh, back in 2004, 5, and 6. So we've been talking, you're right. I mean, I remember talking about this when people did not want to talk about it. Now they'll at least touch it, but they're timid and a little too late in some cities. We talked yesterday about Dearborn schools having halal meat in all of their schools, halal meat that's been offered, prayed over, some consider it offered to sacrifice, this, which is why I'm pushing the legislation. I think I talked to you about it, that it's very pointed. It just says no accommodating, implementing, or recognizing foreign law or Sharia law that is incompatible with our U.S. Constitution. And I narrow it down to governing bodies, governing buildings. We don't need foot washing stations in our airports or libraries. Organizations like 4-H, they don't need to be telling kids what they can and can't show for animals, what's halal and what's not. Institutions, agencies, our welfare agencies don't need to be recognizing 3 wives and et cetera, and our U.S. courts, judicial systems, and our campuses, and our public lands, our parks. So I'm just putting it all back on government because I hear from some folks about freedom of religion and that this may have hygiene, this may have dietary, Sharia law may have all those things. And so my thought is, you do that in your home privately, that's up to you. But a nation founded on Judeo-Christian foundations, God of mentioned in our U.S. currency and on our halls of Congress, we don't need that in our tax-funded government or affiliated organizations.
I couldn't agree more. This is the thing that people don't understand about Sharia is that it's not just religious law. And so they talk about religious freedom, but we're talking about a political system, and not just an ordinary political system either, but one that is supremacist, authoritarian, violent, and expansionist. And so it's going to come down whether we like it or not in America. It's going to come down at some point or another to whether America will become a Sharia state or remain a free republic. And this is not even an issue for most people because they don't realize that Sharia has this political extension. And every time I meet people who say, oh, it's terrible, it's racist, bigoted, Islamophobic for you to oppose Sharia, I see that they don't understand that Sharia has this political and supremacist aspect. But it does, and we've got to wake up to it because there are people working to bring it to America as we speak.
Absolutely. How long have you been the director of Jihad Watch?
23, 24 years now.
Yeah, I think I was interviewing you on the first radio station I was on, and that was before 2006. So I just was curious. All right. So you have written several articles in the last couple of days besides this new book we're awaiting. And if you want to mention that new book, you're welcome to do so. But the one article I reached out to you was about the Nigeria situation. We followed that for several years now. But in the meantime, you've written one on ceasefire. Where would you like to begin, sir?
Well, we can cover all of it, but Nigeria is a terrible, terrible tragedy, and so I appreciate you bringing it up. There were three jihad attacks in Nigeria in the 24 hours from the night before Easter Sunday to the evening of Easter, and uh, two churches were stormed by the jihadis. Many people were killed. This is just the latest in a long string of jihad attacks. Actually, somebody recently on Twitter came to me and said, why don't you cover the jihad in Nigeria? And I said, you just haven't been paying attention. I went back and checked, and there were over 1,300 posts over the years at jihadwatch.org about jihad activity in Nigeria. And that just is an indication of how long it's been going on, how strongly it's been going on before the near total indifference of the entire world.
Absolutely correct. Your book, Holy Hell, The Abuse of Women and the Infidels Who Enable It, you talk about that in the European area where they would not even speak about the grooming gangs. You're so correct in that. They still really don't. And as you say, they'll mention Pakistani, but they won't say Muslim. And that is usually the common factor in so much of this. All right. So, Congressman Riley Moore, thankfully, I don't even know if he's a freshman. I don't know how long he's been in, but fairly new. He has been very helpful. The president has asked him to report on Nigeria, and he was, I think, instrumental in getting Nigeria recognized as a country of particular concern. Thankful for that. So, talk to us about the president sent over troops. We were all concerned about it, but what's happened since?
Really, nothing much. The president ordered an airstrike. There was an airstrike against ISIS positions in Nigeria. And then sometime later, he sent over 200 troops. It seems to me that 200 troops is just a token amount that shows that something's being done. But what are 200 troops going to do? The jihadis have been rampaging all over the country of Nigeria, which is a very large country, actually, and the most populous country in Africa, with, I believe, 85 million people. What are 200 troops going to do? The jihadis strike virtually every day, from the south to the north, all around the country. And so much more needs to be done if he's serious about stopping the jihad there. I don't think it means that American troops have to go there. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's any need for that. One of the things that he could do, however, is cut off all American aid to this Nigerian government because it is actively on the side of the jihadis. It frequently goes into an area, disarms the populace the night before the jihadis come in. Then the jihadis come in and open fire, and the people can't do anything to defend themselves or protect their families. And so there should be not a drop of aid, not a penny given to Nigeria. The pressure should be put on that government to protect the Christians there. There's a great deal more that can and should be done.
And as you mentioned in your article, a lot of times help does not come from the government. When these folks are calling for help, asking for help, long after the raids, the fires set on homes, the murders, the rapes, the looting, only then does the help come, not in time to help any one of the victims. And so, I
Yep.
mean, we've all felt the government was involved. It certainly seems complicit, if not, um, com- what's the other word I'm looking for? Not compliant, but help an accomplice.
Oh, yeah. Look, the government of Nigeria is largely made up of Fulanis, people from the Fulani tribe, which is very extensive in Nigeria. They're Muslims and they're Islamic jihadis. And you see so many times when there's a jihad attack in Nigeria, a church burnt down, Christians killed, it's the Fulanis. And they are in the government. So the government is not going to work against people who share their tribal identity as well as their religion of Islam. They are just not going to lift a finger to stop them from what they're doing. And this is a big scandal in Nigeria. For years there was a balance. They always had a Christian president and a Muslim vice president, or a Muslim president and a Christian vice president. And this was designed to make sure that both communities would feel as if they had representation and be protected. Now, the government's all Muslim. The president and the vice president, the other major leaders of the country, the Christians are disenfranchised, even though they're 50% of the population, and they essentially have no recourse. And the Fulanis are running wild.
So we've got just maybe a minute before we go to break. I'm going to ask one more question. We used to hear about Ramadan, how violent Ramadan was. Now we hear wonderful news reports. Last year it was all about the lighting of the festival in Europe and how London was the first city in the Western Hemisphere to welcome Ramadan. Looked like New Year's Eve on Times Square. Was Ramadan, I can't remember the dates, did it come into play with Passover and Easter this year? Or is it still violent? Or are we just not hearing about it?
Ramadan was a little bit before Passover and Easter this year. It moves through the year. Sometimes it's in the winter, sometimes it's in the summer. It's because the lunar calendar is 10 days shorter than the solar calendar. So every year it's 10 days forward. But in any case, it's always a time of particular violence. It really belies all the propaganda we get from the establishment media because it's not a time for meditation and peace and prayer. I mean, it is, but it's the thing about Islam is it teaches that jihad warfare against unbelievers is the greatest deed you can do. And so if you're trying to redouble your efforts to please Allah, which is what Ramadan is all about, then you're much more likely to go jihad. And there's always a massive death toll during Ramadan every year. And yet every year it seems like the more money Qatar gives to the American media, the more they keep telling us that Ramadan is a wonderful time of peace. It is not, it never has been, and it never will be.
Will be. My guest is Robert Spencer, jihadwatch.org, also Front Page Magazine. You can catch his articles almost on a daily basis, I think. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. I need to tell you about our Bella Grace. The slender little sachet has the elixir with the collagen, astaxanthin, and cat's claw. In 2022, got an award for helping with cognitive function, and in 2023, in the sports arena for active ingredients, nutrition, and format. But the best is what we hear from so many of you. You have noticed better joint health, improved mobility, less eye strain and fatigue, helping with computer vision syndrome, visual acuity, depth perception, alleviating dry eyes, but also helping with your immunity, your stress management, endurance, less fatigue overall, not just eye fatigue, muscle recovery, mental clarity, focus, and gut health. Then there's the fun list. The firmer, smoother skin texture, fewer fine lines and wrinkles, improved skin elasticity, decreased age spots, more even skin tone, improved skin hydration, reduced oxidative stress, healthier nails, less cellulite, hair health, better sleep. Who wouldn't want any of those? Call them beauty in items if you wish, but who doesn't want to feel a little bit better or more confident when you're going to present in the public square, when you're going to speak at a city council? And who just doesn't want to feel a little healthier? Maybe they're just byproducts of being healthier. More information at tamara.bellagraceglobal.com, tamara.bellagraceglobal.com. A delight and so much information to get to talk with him. Robert, before we went to break, we were talking about Nigeria. I've got one more question I want to throw in on Nigeria, and then we'll move to the ceasefire in Israel, Iran, and the U.S. All right, so even the ACLJ is coming in on this, and they're trying to work on behalf of some of the folks who are being persecuted, prosecuted in Muslim nations, I think it is. But they mentioned in Nigeria 5-to-1 deaths, 5-to-1 Christians to one death and to a death of other in Nigeria. Riley Moore, congressman, as I said, I think he said 19,000 churches have been destroyed since 2009, burned, raided. Where's the UN? The ACLJ is working to file legal reports with the UN, but where is the UN? We never hear about this type of violence from the Muslim sect.
No, we don't, and I don't think we're going to, because we should remember that ever since the collapse of the Soviet Union, the biggest voting bloc at the UN has been the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which is 57 Muslim governments. And so they are the tail wagging the dog at the UN these days, and the UN doesn't cross them. That's why there's actually a permanent agenda item, item 7, on the UN Security Council's agenda. Every time they meet, item 7 is all the evils of Israel. And this is the OIC's doing. The OIC also makes sure that the UN speaks a great deal about Islamophobia, but doesn't ever say word one about Islamic jihad.
Very good. I'm glad I asked that question. I was not aware of that. I knew the 57 states, but I didn't realize the power that they had. All right, let's move to Israel, Iran, America, ceasefire. Your thoughts. You've written another article on it. People can find it at Front Page Magazine. Thomas, there you go. Talk to us about this, Robert.
Well, Tamara, it's very disappointing because there really isn't any ceasefire. The Iranians have not cleared the Strait of Hormuz, and they fired all these missiles into Israel minutes after the ceasefire was declared. And so this is yet another classic example of them buying time so that they could regroup. And that's something that we should know about. See, this is one of the hazards of the fact that the US government, even now in Trump's second term, does not understand anything about Islam and refuses even to consider the possibility that Islam might have something to do with global conflicts. The Islamic Republic of Iran is just that. It's an Islamic republic. It's based on Islam. Islam teaches if you're fighting an infidel enemy, you don't ask for a truce unless you're losing and you need time to regroup and fight again more effectively. That's all this is about. When the Iranians said, yes, we'll accept a ceasefire, that's when Trump and the Israelis should have said, oh, they're admitting that they're losing. We should press forward now to final victory. But instead they say, oh, ceasefire, great, now we'll have peace. We won't.
Did you testify just this year in February in front of the House on Islam Sharia law?
Yeah, that's right. The House Subcommittee on Limited Government that Congressman Chip Roy of Texas is the chairman of, and he is spearheading anti-Sharia efforts in the Sharia Free Caucus in Congress. It's unprecedented. It's a great thing. It's sorely needed and long overdue.
I'm excited to see it, and I'm hoping to see my own legislators in the House side join that caucus. And to everybody out there, you can call them. We always give you the phone number at the switchboard in DC if you don't know their offices in your state. Of course, those would be great if you live in the state, but 202-224-3121. 202-224-3121 gets you to any of them. You just ask for your legislator. Ask them to join the Sharia Free Caucus. Is it Sharia, anti-Sharia, or is it Sharia Free Caucus?
I think it's Sharia Free Caucus.
Something, anybody who understands the Constitution should be signing this because, as we've said, Sharia law is incompatible, just contradictory, and in at war with our Constitution. It just can't say it any other way. All right. So thank you, one, for testifying. When I hear you're testifying, I'm thinking, well, we're getting through. It's working. Somebody's hearing this. When Trump comes out and makes these terrible statements about Islam, we think that he's getting it, right? And then when I may say terrible, I'm saying terribly truthful of things they've done. So we think he's getting it. The ceasefire, your article, ceasefire in no way equals peace. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, see, I think that if you look at Trump's statements about Islam, they're all from 10 years ago, and he doesn't say anything about it anymore. And meanwhile, he's praising the government of Qatar and the Saudis, and he doesn't seem to be aware of Islamic Jihad or care about it, at very least, anymore. And he's focused on making pragmatic deals, and pragmatic deals can be made, but they only go so far when you're dealing with hardcore ideologues. And I hope that he still has some idea of that. It seems to me there never would have been this ceasefire, which is only to the advantage of Iran, if he had had a full understanding of what Islamic law teaches regarding truces in this kind of situation.
And you say in your article there are only two, and we've called it on when America tried to talk Israel into ceasefire with Hamas. We in Gaza. We were saying then, let Israel finish the threat, let them stop the threat. Michelle Bachmann came out on that just after it shortly happened and said they were so close within weeks of stopping future threat. Give us the two truces that Islam, the reasons they'll go for a truce.
Yeah, the only conditions that are allowed in Islamic law for a truce between an Islamic army and a non-Islamic army is if the non-Islamic army is going to convert to Islam. Obviously, that's not in play here. It's never been. Or if the Islamic army is losing, and that's the one that's in play here, and they need time. And so they're just biding their time. The problem is Americans don't generally have any patience, and we fight wars based on election cycles. Trump wants to wrap this up in a victorious manner before November so that it doesn't cost the Republicans in the midterms. But meanwhile, the Iranians are thinking if we are on our heels right now, all we have to do is hang on and survive. And if the Islamic Republic still exists, we will fight our jihad again later.
Yep, drag it out. I believe that you are very correct in that. And I mean, Trump has had a blessed precision when he goes in and takes out some of the terrorists. When we went in for our recent rescue of our military member, gosh, that we didn't lose anyone, that was done so well just recently. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And I read through some of those articles or posts yesterday on that issue. But is the Strait of Hormuz, is that opening up or not?
The reports are kind of unclear, but it looks as if it's not. And the Iranians have said they're going to charge a toll, and Trump said, oh, that's okay. And the Iranians said they're only going to let 12 ships through every day. And I don't know that Trump's on record saying anything publicly about that. But it's clearly not, neither one amounts to actually opening the strait, which is what the president was insisting on. So now he needs to follow through. He has said that he's keeping American troops in place there in case they're needed again, and they may well be needed again quite soon.
All right. And we have other guests on the show who are from this area. They're not comforted yet either. They have great concerns. I'll read a couple of those. Nicole Jansesian lives in Jerusalem. She's from New York, but lives in Jerusalem, and she joins us every so often to talk about Eyes on Israel, what's happening over there. She joins us the second half of this program. You are welcome to stay on if you like. She thought the bombs that were coming in were from Hamas, the southern part of Lebanon. So we'll see if those are from Iran or who. I don't know who it is, but I think Israel has every right to fight back and to defend themselves and to
You mean
stop
Hezbollah,
the threat.
right? You mean Hezbollah in southern Lebanon.
Oh, sorry.
And we
Yes,
should
yes.
remember that Hezbollah is a wholly owned and operated subsidiary of the Islamic Republic of Iran. It was actually created by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is the muscle, the enforcement arm in Iran that kills all the protesters and so on. They created Hezbollah. They set it in Lebanon in order to be pressure on Israel. And so, yes, if Hezbollah struck Israel, which it appears to have done, that is an indication that the Islamic Republic has no intention of giving up or accepting Trump's terms, and Trump has to acknowledge that.
And thank you for clarifying that and correcting me. I so appreciate it. We want good information out here. And and also it helps clear it up for everybody out there, because when she said it's from the southern Lebanon, we forget that Iran has proxies in so many other countries, and there's so many other countries that are still being bombed as well right now. It's not like there's peace in the Middle East.
Not even close. Immediately after the ceasefire was concluded, the Iranians bombed not only Israel, but Kuwait, the UAE, Qatar, and Bahrain. And so, I'm sorry, was it? Yeah, oh no, not Bahrain, Kuwait. But in any case, it's very clear that they are not stopping. They don't have any intention of stopping because they're driven by ideology, because they believe that they are on a mission from their God. They are not going to give it up. They're not going to negotiate it away. It would be like negotiating away the Ten Commandments. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's in your article. At least 11 people were injured in Israel, attacked Qatar, Bahrain, as well as the United Arab Emirates and Kuwait. That's a good number. They are not slowing down. So I don't even think they're taking time to regroup. All right. So some of my other friends who are concerned to end Israeli strikes in Lebanon, they're saying that this is what Iran's saying they want, that Iran would reopen the strait, but Iran would impose 2 million fee per ship.
Yeah. So then, pretty quickly, the Iranian treasury is rebuilt, and then they resume the jihad against Israel. It would be absolutely foolish to acquiesce to that. And yet, Trump shrugged it off when he was asked about it. It's disturbing, and I hope that that will be revisited, because that would very swiftly enable the Iranians to resume the jihad. And anybody who thinks they're not going to do that is naive.
Well, I think that the reason Jefferson created the Navy, wasn't it, to protect our ships from the barbary pirates who are taking what they call it tributes. Is that what they called
Yes,
it back then? So this seems very like a very heavy tribute to me, and I say no to this. All
absolutely.
right. All right, so we've got a minute left. I'll give you a minute to close out. We always appreciate when you come. You're welcome to stay with Nicole if you want for the second half hour. You might
I
have break.
appreciate it. I have another. I got to go.
All
But
right.
in any case, thank you. And yeah, the situation here is all about Islam. And this is the one thing that the US government seems determined not to examine in connection with it. And this is the problem with Israel as well, that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a jihad, just as this is a jihad. And the US government seems determined to ignore jihad and Islam. And that's why our response in both conflicts has been so off the mark and will continue to be.
Robert Spencer, thank you. You are a gift to us in the writings and the research that you do, and kind of a national treasure as far as our security, because you put it out there for us and help us find the best things we need to be doing in order to protect our sovereignty here at home, but our interest across the globe. Thank you. We really appreciate you on this show.
Thank you, and I'm deeply honored. Thank you. Much appreciate your words.
Absolutely. We'll be right back. Nicole Jansesian. Stay tuned for more with Tamara Scott.
Do you like drinking toxins that could cause cancer, inflammation, and all kinds of other autoimmune diseases? Of course you don't. Well, much of our water in America is full of toxins. That's a proven fact. WorldviewWater.net. WorldviewWater.net is your solution so that you can drink good, clean water. In fact, I give it to all my 3 fur babies, all my 3 dogs. I have one under my kitchen sink, one of these filters, as well as on my shower. WorldviewWater.net.
This is our new NutraSwish, Numi NutraSwish. You can find more information at Numi, neumi.com/TTSS, neumi.com/TTSS. One of the products we offer, because you all have different preferences and respond differently to different items. So this is our lavender. It's for ladies anywhere along your journey. No hormones in it, but if you're taking a hormonal supplement, you might want to check with your doctor. The blue is for anyone over the age of 18. It has glutathione, which is a antioxidant, helps with over 400 cellular functions, and it helps detox heavy metals forever chemicals, graphene oxide, one of those terms we learned after 2020, and it helps detox glyphosate. The good glutathione helps detox glyphosate. Glyphosate is found in ag chemicals or lawn chemicals, and some are very concerned about possible links to cancers, HPVs, and diabetes. But the blue bottle, the glutathione, helps detox heavy metals, forever chemicals, graphene oxide, and glyphosate. Then there's the mango colored bottle you see on your screen. Numi Neuro helps with your mind, your memory, and your focus. Now, again, after 2020, we heard something about brain fog, a term we'd not heard before. Whether it's from a virus or a vaccine, many have found relief, a little help with Numi Neuro, the mango colored bottle. When used with the blue bottle, it is so positive that the American Brain Council wrote about it and it looked like an endorsement. Though we're told they don't write endorsements, it was simply a positive review of what they saw. You can find more information at neumi.com/TTSS. neumi.com/TTSS for the Tamara Scott Show. Why? Because we want you feeling your best. And when you use that TTSS link, you help us be our best. And joining me now is Nicole Jansesian. We appreciate her coming to us from Israel, feet on the ground in Jerusalem, eyes around Israel and the Middle East. Nicole, thank you for joining us.
And thanks, Tamara. It's good to be here. It's good to see you.
And so last week, we talked to you 2 weeks ago, right before we went into Easter, and busy time over there, not quite like normal times over there in the Holy Week. And then we had the whole scuttle where supposedly the government had stopped or closed the Holy Sepulchre. But then Rob McCoy was in the studio with me last week, and he talked to his connections over there. And it wasn't so much the government as much as the independent police were stopping it. But then I sent you that video and I should have put it on today, where apparently someone did get in there and light the candles for the Holy Sepulchre. It looked like it was this past week.
Right.
Was it?
Yeah, they after that news broke that the cardinal himself was stopped, that it just went viral around the world. I mean, every government leader was commenting on it, and so immediately Israel was like, "Oh no, wait, he can go to the Holy Sepulchre, but he just can't have like a mass with congregants." So they limited the number of priests that could go. And so this was the policy all throughout the war, was that they would open things. They didn't open Al-Aqsa, the Dome of the Rock, for the Muslims, but they did open the churches for very very downsized celebrations, and actually just the Holy Sepulchre, because the rest of the churches were open subject to the restrictions.
Yes, and I think the Garden
So he
Tomb,
made it in.
the Garden Tomb had services, so they were there. And the dome, for the mosque, that they had no holy holiday. Ramadan was over before this, so it really didn't
No, that Ramadan. No, Ramadan was extremely impacted. From the second week of Ramadan, they were not able to get on the temple, on the Dome of the Rock. And also, they had the end of Ramadan feast. It's like 3 to 5 days, and they weren't allowed for that. They were completely banned. And also then also the Western Wall was open to only 50 people at a time. And then the churches, at first they said that the Holy Sepulchre would be closed completely, but then they decided to let like a priest and like a few clergymen go in. So, but it's all open now. Everything's open as of today.
Because of the ceasefire.
Because of the ceasefire. So the churches are open, the mosque is open, that the Dome of the Rock, people were up there today. And here's the thing. While everybody has already celebrated Easter, the Orthodox churches haven't yet celebrated. That's this weekend. So they are going to get to have the Holy Fire ceremony in all of its glory. And I'm telling you, it is one of the most raucous and interesting cultural events I have ever seen in my life. And so we are actually going to be in the Old City for that. So I'm very excited about it.
Will you be videoing and we can watch it later?
Definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay. And
I
we'll
will
pray
do
for you.
that.
We'll pray for the safety of everyone who celebrates Orthodox Easter. All right, so ceasefire. I'm surprised things are open because, as you and I were texting earlier, there are still rockets coming in from southern Lebanon, which I thought, well, that's not
Mhm.
Iran. But of course, Robert Spencer just reminded me, yeah, it's Iran. It's the proxy Hezbollah, is it?
It
Out of Lebanon?
is, yeah. Yeah. So it is Iran, but also they are separating, everybody's separating Hezbollah from Iran. Like even Israel is separating them from Iran in this case because Israel does want to continue to fight Hezbollah. And so there's a few things to just note about the Hezbollah rockets. And first of all, they're usually just targeting the north of the country. So the north is very much still under attack, as opposed to the rest of the country has opened up. But so it's sort of limited. I don't want to, minimalize it, but it's limited. But Israel is also attacking Hezbollah in Lebanon, and there have been some major attacks just in the last, what is it, 36 hours since the ceasefire. and
Mhm.
and so and Israel actually attacked first, and Iran is saying, oh, well, that's a violation of the ceasefire because Hezbollah should be included in the ceasefire. But Israel and the US are saying, no, nope, it's just Iran. It's not Lebanon. So, so anyway, they are going to have to work this out over the weekend in Pakistan when they actually have the negotiations.
All right. All right. So let's talk about your latest article. For those of you watching, Nicole is on Substack. You can follow her on Substack. You can also go to nickjan.com, where she puts live video updates on. We followed her through, gosh, when she was out shopping and had to take cover, head to a bomb shelter with her son. We followed her through some of this. She brings it home for us. So we see exactly what's going, well, not exactly because we're watching it through a computer, but so take us through your article. Sorry, Thomas, I just popped off of it. Take us to your article. Is it a ceasefire, and does ceasefire equal peace from fire?
Yeah, and it's also it's almost funny here that Israelis are so used to war that it's like once you're post-war, you feel like you're just pre the next war. And also with the ceasefire now, mind you, if you had been following President Trump's quotes, I have to get my notes because to read them exactly, um, he went from saying a whole civilization will die tonight, regarding his deadline that he wanted, a deadline open the Strait of Hormuz by this hour, which was 8 p.m. Eastern time on, I think, Tuesday. And he went from that to even before the deadline saying, oh, yep, the talks are successful. We have a 2 week ceasefire in place. And it was so instantaneous and like so out of the blue, from this apocalyptic threat of annihilating an entire civilization to just like, oh yeah, yeah, it's we have we they gave us a good basis to negotiate with. And to hear that, it was like we all woke up shell shocks. By the way, we all woke up despite the fact that there was a ceasefire. Iran did launch several missiles right after that. Like that was around 1:15 in the morning, and I think at 1:30 we were asleep, so we didn't know that there had been this announcement of a ceasefire. And then we woke up to an alert that there was an incoming missile. Actually, it was the closest one to us in Jerusalem. I actually, ran outside on my way to the shelter and saw it in the air, and then heard it probably get intercepted. And so then I'm like checking the news. I'm like, wait, there's supposed to be a ceasefire, and the missiles continued till about 3 a.m. Now, that being said, Israel also continued to finish up what they wanted to finish, and there were many airstrikes that went on till the early hours of the morning. At the same time, and I think Robert Spencer, your previous guest, said this, that Iran was still attacking some of the Gulf states like the UAE and Kuwait in like on Wednesday morning when there was supposed to be the ceasefire. So it was, all a bit bizarre, and we were all, I would say, shell shocked, just going from being on alert at all times to suddenly, despite that you were going to annihilate a whole civilization, and there was a whole day of major infrastructure targets that both the US and Israel were hitting all across Iran. So that was all day Tuesday. And then, we wake up on, the wee hours of Wednesday morning to know, it's over. So it was a bit like, shocking to go from one thing to another, which we did in the last war with Iran in June, last June. So all of that, and then shortly after that, sometime Wednesday morning, Israel carried out some of the most major strikes across Lebanon. In fact, they had an operation named for it, Eternal Darkness. It was something like that, like Eternal Darkness. And they, within 10 minutes, hit 100 Hezbollah targets that were military command posts and personnel. But so far, 300 people were killed in these strikes, but we don't yet know the breakdown. Was it all Hezbollah? Was it civilians? I'm sure civilians were killed in this, but it was pretty major. And so then immediately after that, everybody was saying, well, is Lebanon part of the ceasefire or not? So that has been what's sort of captivating the narrative right now, where you've got Iran and Pakistan saying that no, or yes, Lebanon is part of the ceasefire, so you cannot continue to attack Hezbollah. But Israel and the US are saying, no, Lebanon's got nothing to do with it. We can continue our war against Hezbollah. And Prime Minister Netanyahu has doubled down on that. And he said, we are going to take out Hezbollah, and we have to ensure the safety of the citizens of Israel. But there's a lot going on with Lebanon, and also just some breaking news that literally in the hour before we were getting ready to start the show, Netanyahu himself announced that he has requested to open direct negotiations with Lebanon. Now, on so many levels, this is very critical because first of all, it's bypassing Hezbollah, it's minimalizing their impact in the country, in Lebanon, and it's two countries that do not have diplomatic relations, Lebanon and Israel. So this is actually just amazing breaking news that we just heard, and apparently it's already planned who is going to be leading the negotiations. The US is involved as well, and they're going to be meeting, I think, as early as next week. So the fact that Lebanon, this basically shows that Lebanon is removing itself from the Hezbollah issue. Before, attacking Hezbollah was seen as also an attack on Lebanon because Hezbollah is based in a sovereign state. But the fact that they are now going to separate themselves in this way from Hezbollah and deal directly with Israel is probably the biggest blow to Iran that this entire war produced after 40 days of bombing. So I'm actually really interested to see how this develops. Like I said, it's just like literally the news was just breaking right now. So we're still getting details of how this is going to be conducted, where, and where it's going to take us.
So there's breaking news once again right here on the Tamara Scott Show on WVW TV. We'll be right back after this break. We'll talk a little bit more about this with Nicole Jancizian. Stay tuned.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
And of course, we talked to you about our Frequence. We offer you a variety of products because everybody responds differently, has different preferences. So frequence.com/Tamara Scott. Frequence.com/Tamara Scott to see more of their products. This one is the helping with the trace minerals, replacing what's now missing out of your soil, missing from many of your vegetables and your foods. So there you go. Frequence, FREQUENCE.com/Tamara Scott. And there you can see on the screen one of their Rise products, helpful with supporting brain health, boosting mental clarity, helping support concentration and mood, and supporting creativity. That's kind of fun. That's a new one. So there you go. All right. Nicole Janzizian is my guest. We're talking about the ceasefire. Israel, Iran, and America is involved. And she just gave us breaking news. Nicole, I want to thank you for coming on and giving us the recap again of the breaking news you just shared. And again, in Israel, it would be what, 8 o'clock at night? You all just got this maybe an hour ago?
Yeah, it was just within the last hour or 2 hours that there was. I just saw like my phone was just bleeping with news, and Netanyahu announced that we are opening direct negotiations with Lebanon. Like that really just came out of nowhere as far as we're all concerned. We've been watching Iran for the past 40 days. But it's just very significant. I'm just thinking about as well that this is just going to put Hezbollah in a very bad position. I just did I write this? Or yes, I just did a video. I didn't write it. I did a video this morning about what is happening in Lebanon. It's a very sectarian state, because there is the Hezbollah is Shiite Muslim, but there's also Sunnis, there's also Christians, and there's also Druze, and among the Christians, there's different denominations, and they all have like positions in parliament, and they have different neighborhoods and everything. But the people who have been displaced in Lebanon, about 1 million people, because of the Israeli military activity in southern Lebanon, 1 million people have been evacuated to going north in Lebanon. And there are reports that people don't want them in their neighborhoods. They don't want to rent them houses. They don't want to help them because if they're associated with Hezbollah, then they could be a target by the Israeli military, and that means it puts these other villages in danger. So they are now all over Lebanon disassociating themselves with Hezbollah. So the fact that this news about the direct negotiations comes on the heels of this that I was researching this morning, I was like, well, it makes sense. The mood may be ripe for making some sort of normalization agreement with Israel. And that would be very, very shocking and unprecedented at this point to turn from enemy nations to having normalized agreements.
How will that work? Even if Lebanon and Israel can come up with some agreement, when you have groups like Hezbollah, and if Islam is anywhere involved in it, they don't fault anybody else's rules. They don't care about any truce, as Robert Spencer and I were talking about. How is that going to play out for Lebanon then?
Well, first of all, the Lebanese government, I should back up to, I think it was August of last year, where under pressure from the US, the Lebanese government the parliament voted they would disarm Hezbollah or demilitarize Hezbollah, and that they would take it upon their own military to do that. Now, Hezbollah is I think comprised of about 100,000 operatives, and they have before the war started, they had 150,000 known, at least, rockets, missiles, drones. So they are extremely well armed and they're large. It's a large militia. I think it's the largest non-state militia in the world, I think, but don't quote me on that. But the fact that even the Lebanese government was like, okay, enough, because by having them constantly go at it with Israel, Lebanon was becoming a target. And I think the Lebanese people are fed up. Now, I think most of the people, now they're not necessarily pro-Israel. You know, most of the Arab states are, you know, they have angst against Israel for sure. But they doesn't mean they're pro Hezbollah either. You know, Hezbollah is a bully actor in their state. So I think people are just getting fed up with these Iranian proxies because they're ruining their countries. And the Lebanese economy is just failing. And it's been failing for years. And many people are starting to blame Hezbollah. So the people and the government itself, and I would say probably a lot of the people would probably be in favor of getting Hezbollah out of their country.
All right. So breaking news, give that to us one more time as we head out so everybody can tell their neighbor about this, because you're hearing it here, probably within an hour of it being revealed in Israel. So there you go. Tell us again, Hezbollah, Lebanon
All
is
right.
separating itself from Hezbollah.
Yes, and the government of Lebanon is going to open up direct negotiations with Israel, and Israel and Lebanon do not have diplomatic relations. So this is so unprecedented and extremely critical information, especially on the heels of this 40-day war with Iran.
So, and this, as you say, could be bigger than it could be very, very critical for Iran. This could be a blow.
It's a big blow. If you've got Israel's already going after Hezbollah, they're not holding back. They're not. They say they're not part of the ceasefire, and the attacks that we've seen are larger than in the past 40 days. Like the attacks that we've seen since the ceasefire against Lebanon are massive. So Israel's still going at it. Now, at the same time, for Lebanon to agree that we're also going to, you know, have negotiations, which ultimately the agreement will have to be to disarm, demilitarize, and oust Hezbollah, that's a huge blow also to Iran if that's going to happen. And the fact that Lebanon is at the point where its politicians would agree and openly negotiate with Israelis, that's really big news.
Nicole Jansesian, thank you so much for this report with your feet on the ground in Jerusalem. We so appreciate hearing directly from Israel. We wish you a wonderful Orthodox Easter celebration. I hope you do get to go see it.
Thank you.
Safe for you, and we'll look forward to that. I'm traveling a little bit next week, so we've got some guest hosts, but maybe the week after we'll have you back on and get to see some of that footage.
Awesome.
To all of our viewers, you've gotten great news that other people probably don't even have yet, right here on the Tamara Scott Show. God is so good to us with the guest he brings to us and you as the viewer. As we tell you, live boldly, love better, laugh bigger, be encouraged, never be complacent.